Welcome to the Private Property Podcast, where we provide you with valuable knowledge and information on all things property related. That's right, whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or if you're just looking for some expert advice, we've got you covered. So tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. for tips, insights, and expert advice on burning topics related to property, because this podcast is brought to you by Private Property. And remember, you can find your new home on privateproperty.co.za. Welcome to the Private Property Podcast. On tonight's episode, we'll be finding out exactly how you can go about protecting your home and your loved ones from life's unexpected mishaps. Joining me in studio to discuss this interesting topic is Ayasanga Besman, who is the Portfolio Manager for Insurance at Absa Home Loans. But before we dive into today's conversation, remember to comment below, share your thoughts about today's show. You can join the conversation by using the hashtag Find Your New Home on privateproperty.co.za, as well as hashtag Private Property Podcast on all social media. We'll be keeping an eye out for your posts, and we may even feature some of your comments on the show. This is the Private Property Podcast, where we provide you with valuable information on all things property related. Ayasanga, thank you so much for being in studio with us and for being willing to help us unpack such an important topic for people. So I think let's get straight into it. What is credit life and why do we need it?
Thank you for having me. And credit protection, or as some people call it, is a form of life insurance specifically catering for the repayment of a debt. So you can get credit protection or credit life, as some call it, for personal loans, vehicle finance, or I guess for us in this person industry is for a home loan as well.
And what would it, I suppose at a basic summary level, what would it cover?
A credit life policy would cover death, permanent disability, terminal illness, temporary disability, and loss of income, which I guess is a broader definition for what some would call as retrenchment cover in essence. And
something that obviously is a real threat in the kind of market and economy that we're finding ourselves right now. So really useful to have. But still with that, we're finding that people aren't really feeling the need to take out these kind of products. And it's, I imagine, still an arduous task for you guys as a bank to try and get people to take this up.
Yes, it is. I think what we look at when it's insurance is generally a grudge purchase. So customers don't really need to see the value for it until it becomes something that they really need. And I think it's around customer education and information, but no one really wants to get to the point whereby the house burns down, they're not able to rebuild the house because they don't have insurance for the property, or if there's a life event that happens and the house, the bond is not able to be repaid in essence. So those are kind of instances that we are catering for. And we do note that customers do see it as a grudge purchase, but it's basically around how to inform people and put them in that situation so that they don't put themselves in a tricky position at the end of the day.
So you'd say that this is something that people really, really need to be focusing on.
Definitely. And especially in times where you think you don't need the product, I think it's really best to keep it there. And also, I guess in a lot of instances, it can also be a condition of the loan. So if you're not having the product, you are actually transgressing and the loan may be called up should the credit provider deem it adequate to do so.
That's quite interesting. So where you do have it as a condition of loan, would that be for the duration or the lifespan of the entire loan, or would there be a point where you would have reached maybe a point in the paying off of the loan where that would come off?
Generally, it would be for the entire span of the loan.
Okay. Quite interesting. I think we're probably all also optimists, and we don't really like the idea of imagining something negative happening to us. So that's probably one of the other elements that I would think of if I thought,
it's never happening to me.
Let's not do that. And I think especially because there are so many other types, and maybe just take us at a very high level through, we often feel like we're overinsured. I have to have life cover. I have to have a will. I have to have, any type of different types of insurance. So can you just maybe at a summary level, just give us the difference between those types of insurance and what they would cover?
Okay, so I guess from a property point of view, you're looking at property insurance. So obviously, if it's not a sectional title, you need to have property insurance. So the building in itself needs to be insured. Then you can have your household contents and so forth. that you need to cover as an individual. That won't be something that you have to testify or attest to the credit provider, but property insurance will be a requirement of your home loan. Then you have life insurance, and life insurance can come in different forms. You can have a life insurance policy that you take up, or you can take up a credit protection, which is an equivalent thereof. And I guess the idea there is on life insurance, you can either choose to cede the policy to the home loan, which means where there is a claim, you'll get paid directly to the home loan account. But a credit protection policy does that automatically. It is specifically for the debt. But I guess also the type of insurance that, or not even a product you need to consider, is making sure that you have some estate planning. And I guess wills do come into that quite strongly. And we definitely encourage our customers to look into that, especially with Absa Trust offering those services to customers.
I really like that because it just talks to that entire cluster of products that help you protect. Some of them would work immediately in the short term for those emergency type moments. And like you say, kicking in automatically, I think is something that really helps because estates take a very long time to wind up. And we do talk here about ensuring that your home loan can protect your legacy. So I think quite important to do that. I want us to start getting a bit into the nitty gritty now, really around the process of what happens and what kicks in. So you did say it's automatic, but in the event that the bondholder passes away, what is the process that is followed before my credit life insurance would kick in?
Well, you have to submit the claim first, right? The claim will then be assessed, and then you'll come through with a view around payment that needs to be made. So the next of kin needs to have the details of the policy, or at least submit a notification to the credit provider in terms of this is a death that has occurred on the family, and the person is no longer with us. And on the back of that, there should be processes that do trigger off where the policy is linked to the home loan specifically, that will ensure that the claim is then assessed and then paid out directly to the home loan account.
So two questions actually for me that stem from that. The first is, would I call my insurer or the bond financier? So if I'm, who does Credit Life actually sit with?
Within, I guess, from an Absa point of view, credit protection is a lovely product that basically links between the insurance provider, which is Absa Life, together with Absa Home Loans in essence. So you can either contact either of the two parties and you will be able to get assistance. But ideally, do contact Absa Life where that is concerned and it will move forward. But we work as a system, or one company, one Absa. That's
really useful to know, because I think in those moments we're not really thinking about who's the right person to call, understanding all of the processes. And then I suppose then the second question that I was going to ask linked to that is, what happens? My debit order was due in 2 days' time. This event takes place. When I come and I put a claim in as a next of kin, does that immediately kick in to the point where my account won't be in arrears? So depending on how long the process takes, will my account be put in arrears, or is that something where the bank immediately then would put a hold on that account while the credit life process is coming in?
Definitely, once an account is flagged as a deceased estate account, there are certain holds and processes that do kick into place. That account, ultimately, we're not expecting someone to be paying because we understand the person is late. So it'll be a case of it starts moving into an estate process whereby the executor will be engaged and so forth. So there wouldn't be an obligation to repay the loan unless potentially there are other parties linked to the loan, and it's not only a single person on that home loan agreement.
Fantastic. And I know there is a separate podcast that we've done here previously with the Absa team around deceased estates, and really useful if any of our viewers would like to go on and check in the previous podcast that we've done for that, because I think it's a very good one to marry understanding, what happens and kicks off in those processes. So Sanga, maybe just to talk about now, from an overall benefits point of view, you've dealt with this product and people who are in need of it. Do you think that there's been a take up more so in this, since things like COVID and job losses or difficult market conditions? Are we seeing people's attitude towards these type of products changing?
I guess it's been a tricky one, kind of answer that one. So definitely customers have reacted more in terms of taking up policies. I think the element around it is, do you take it up with which provider? And that can be a conversation with itself. During COVID, people obviously were stressed financially, and sometimes being a grudge purchase, you see the impact thereof. But in subsequent times, I think people understand the need, especially with the losses that were encountered, and how do you then deal with it to make sure that you can protect yourself and your family, your loved ones, such events happen in the future.
Yeah, definitely a tough one to have to think about and talk about. We never like to be in these positions. But in closing, Sanga, what advice would you give to homeowners in general, but also specifically in the current economic climate that we find ourselves in?
Happy to give, I guess, my take on it. I mean, with not being any professional advice or anything of that nature.
Of course.
But I think it's very important for one to understand their costs and not to overburden themselves. So don't take on additional cost and expenditure that you don't need to. Don't take on an additional credit, because should there be shocks to the system, you won't be able to react and absorb to those. I think that's really important. And more than that is keep things simple, keep it calm, make sure that you keep your life in a simple manner at the end of the day.
Fantastic. No, I think without being official advice, I think that's really, really good advice, I think, just for us to think about. So any other last thoughts from you that you want to share?
I think from an insurance point of view, definitely always be mindful that you want to keep yourself insured. You want to make sure that you've got the right level of insurance, and don't think of it as a grudge purchase, because at the end of the day, when you need it, KZN was an example where we saw, I guess, families impacted. And that's really important to make sure that you keep your insurance in the right state, whether it's from a short-term point of view or a life insurance point of view.
If anything, for me, I would probably say we need to start thinking about insurance more as an investment into self. So I would move it in my mindset, right, for when I think about managing money, into the cluster of savings and investing into myself, because it really is something that I'm doing to protect my legacy and to save towards it in a more sustainable way. So
definitely, and it's really the right thing to do. I think as South Africans, we talk about housing the nation from an Absa point of view, and this is something that you want to make sure that as your customers come in and you give them a home loan to move that forward, that is creating an asset for the home at the end of the day, should anything happen. So please do, customers, take that into a serious consideration as you make your financial decisions into the near and, I guess, far future.
Sanga, thank you so very much for enlightening us on this topic. Where can our audience go, customers go, to find more information on credit life and other home ownership related insurance products from Absa?
Please do visit absa.co.za and you will be able to find the on the insurance tabs of those products, please.
Sanga, it was an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you so much for taking the time out to come and unpack this, for giving us that info on where we can go and get a bit more detail. And definitely, I know that the guys at Absa are always available for us to give a call if there's anything. So other than that, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much and goodbye.